list in the meta right now. You need to play the Flex Assassins, for example, and I feel like Kuzan fits that a lot closer, but we also know he loves his mid lane Lucian. That was the big pick for him back in the promotion tournament.
Of course, Corki is his most played of all time as well and can still pick that one up potentially, but Yumi is going to be the first ban here from DAMWON's side. Aatrox should follow as Taliyah is taken away from Canyon and Showmaker.
It is a big Canyon pick, and there's been a lot of Taliyah. If you
so much, yeah.
Go over to DWG, if you go over to something like Pro Builds and Filter by Korea, there's some eclectic picks. For example, Camille mid is quite big. In recent memory, Taliyah all over the place is happening. Yumi doesn't need explanation. The Sylas is going to be alongside the Aurelia, 2 of the 5 big picks from MSI taken off the board. We'll see if the Jace respect is there, because it wasn't during the course of our first series.
Feels like Ryze and Aatrox are going to be the champions that'll be top docket. Gen.G are going to ban the Ryze on blue side. We'll see whether DAMWON can find that Aatrox pick. Currently 100% banned before today's LPL games.
I'm a bit of a contrarian.
It's now open.
I think Aatrox is really interesting, but I'm not sure he's super broken like people think, because yes, he does some things well, but there's other areas he doesn't as well. Whoa. We know a lot already, surprisingly.
And also, DAMWON did not waste any time there at all.
Oh yeah, we're doing, I think Camille's hunting Aatrox, and we got a Sejuani jump. Very hard to see anything else happening here, even though we've already mentioned that there's some shenanigans involving Camille mid in solo rank.
Yeah, it's actually really cool that Camille is now a flex pick. Moving into this draft, as Ruler's going to go back to an old favorite as the Ezreal is locked in.
Are we going to do full Gen.G?
We did.
I hope
third round Ezreal Tahm Kench is like the most Gen.G you can ever be.
But Tahm Kench is pretty good against the 2 picks they have. Mid lane Vladimir.
We're looking at mid lane Vladimir potentially, but no, it's going to be the Lissandra. Could still be flexed towards the top side, but don't get ahead of yourself too far.
But they're both super Kuzan champions. So
that is very true. And what is our support going to be, unless the Lissandra is flexed into support as well? I mean, I guess there's that theory that we had almost the entirety of the spring split that never happened, but Braum Ezreal is something that Gen.G is no stranger to, and they are going to lock that one in.
They could also just lock Taric here and start some shenanigans Tahm Kench top, right? But they're not gonna.
There's Fiora.
They're gonna put Nuguri onto his Fiora. Fiora versus Aatrox is even more Fiora favored now after the no button of just ulting to get out of a sticky situation is gone.
Yeah.
Remember, that ult is pretty broken when you get the first kill in a 1v1. You know, it's either gonna be icing on top of the cake that's already delicious, or it's not gonna be relevant. So Nuguri's gonna be hunting the Aatrox on the top side.
And also her most recent buff is actually relevant here as well, with the fact that concussive blows is now completely blocked by the riposte
and we get the Camille mid as well. We didn't even talk about it. We papered over it, but Camille mid, a big pick in Korean solo queue recently into a lot of different matchups, specifically melee ones like Sylas. It's going to be into the LeBlancs. This is, sorry, the Sandras. This is a different look for the mid lane Camille.
And it's also a different look for what a team comp in League of Legends is supposed to look like, Bubba Smithy, because you've got two split pushes in the Camille and the Fiora, often champions that you're choosing between, not to have both of, and there's no AD carry. So I think 1-3-1 is going to be how DWG are going to win this game.
You say that, but it's kind of is science gone too far, and it's going to be
maybe
super hindsight based. Is going to be is this the greatest comp or the most terrible comp of all time, right? What I will say is auto attackers plus a scaling Sona are god tier in the late game because the on-hit damage that you get from voting AP from that Sona Q scales, right? It scales on-hit people who can burst. And the Fiora auto attacker, the Camille auto attacker, it'll be very interesting. 4-1, I guess, but you're right, 1-3-1 because of the double melees. Now, when they actually do group, the Sona can do a lot, but that's a much later thing when Sona hits level 16.
And also, where's the wave clear in the 3 if you've got Sona, Tom, Kench, Sejuani? You sort of just...
I mean, it's not so good.
Yeah, it's not exactly the best. Let's see how it works. It's in game at number 1. Okay, so we get cheers in game number 2 now, is how I'm assuming things are going to work.
It's first time on the Rift for every team, so even the fans are grouped in that. So we'll wait and see. We'll hold our breath, but it is different. It is a different look. And it's a different look for Gen.G as well. DWG Gaming, our first carry Sona, as we've mentioned. Not many poking here. Observers wanting to upskill. If you're a LCK-only viewer, you wouldn't be aware of the potential for a Sona to go for the Frostmancy strategy. You see Kleptomancy is the keystone. Going to be looking to harass, and it means that good old Thomas Kench will be going for the last hit.
He will, and does have a few more offensive capabilities now.
Oh, he's really offensive right now, I agree.
Well, I mean, he's offensive when you see him picked up in the draft, but also the changes that happened weren't all nerfs. Some of it did help him if he was using that Devour in a more aggressive way. So in theory, if you're standing around that lane last hitting, it can potentially work. However, I just feel like Tarek's way better. Like, way better.
Well,
in this role.
This is what we see in this game. Should be noted that vertical jungling is always a possibility in games like this, and what will be what we see in this game. Gen.G went for the late invade. They control the bottom side. That means that Life and Ruler can harass away with a bit more impunity, and means that maybe Sona won't be as able to overextend for auto attacks or to look for anything. It also means that Fiora is going to be able to push up, and this is a matchup that she was already really strong in, because it's very clear when you can use your riposte and get a big advantage, and it's now with no more nope button like the old Aatrox ult.
And you can see Noguri is very confident in this matchup as well, has taken the Kleptomancy this time around. Often you see that Grasp the Undying will be taken in a matchup that Fiora doesn't insta-win. This is one that she's happy to insta-win.
And I want to speak about why I feel like Aatrox as this always banned champion might be a bit overstated, and it's because Aatrox's role has changed. When you think of Aatrox in Spring, you think of LS getting very mad, but you think of the fact that you could blind pick a champion that always did something. Against Vladimir, ooh, healing reduction, how lovely.
Yeah.
You think about laning power, okay, very reliable laner, and always had the ultimate to get out of the more stickier situations, right, Atlas? The big change now is that if you try to just power pick it for any lane blind, if you're not getting jungle attention, you die. Remember, as a weak side champion, Aatrox always got to level 6, and then he wasn't going to die because he had to dive him and then had to wait for his revive and then kill him again. Now if he's on the weak side and you dive him, he just dies, Atlas.
He does.
He can't be as flexible as a champion that always skirmished pretty well, always laned pretty well, worked with healing reduction into the champion, so that was relevant. Now it's, if you get a kill in the late game team fights, oh boy, do you heal a lot and win a team fight from there. But that's a late game advantage. The actual bread and butter for Aatrox before was generally strong laning. That's no longer where Aatrox is strong.
Well, we'll see whether QV is going to be able to prove us one way or the other, Papa Smithy. But I was in your camp when I read the patch notes, and sort of how I felt, although the buffs to his auto attack were a little bit weird. I thought that they may have been slightly overtuned.
It's one of those things where I feel like he probably still does heal too much in a late game team fight. Like the upside in the late game is still there, but if you ever nerf that, it's not worth the early game. trade-offs you made to get that advantage.
Yeah.
And the matchup is always a terror one against Fiora, who beat him in the old Aatrox days.
Yeah, that back when he was incredibly busted. It was almost every variation of Aatrox was beaten by Fiora, no matter what happened, so I'm certainly with you on that front. Cuvée has been a man to weather a poor matchup in the past, though. That has been part of his skill set. Of course, 2019 spring wasn't exactly one of those years. However, Cuvée does have a rather storied history.
It got better as it went on. I thought he was pretty woeful in the first round of Spring Split, and Roach was playing a lot more than him. Then Roach was playing mid, and look, Gen.G were just, you know, pretty much just on fire in many different ways. It's now the first day, starting as the top laner, which is a good sign of endorsement for him, but if you invest resources in him, Fiora could still turn it around, and if you don't, Fiora will just win. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't around Cuvée in game number 1.
Still checking in on the Frostmancy and how things are going. You can see Rule is pretty comfortable, has gone for the more aggressive choice in picking up the Sheen on first back. We actually saw a very curious first back tier coming out from Jin Air in their first game. They then lost, and Rule has gone with the more winning option here in the Sheen pickup. Speaking of pickups, DAMWON should be freely able to get this Infernal Drake. Peanut was napping a little bit, slightly wrong place, wrong time, and good utilization of the Gen.G back timing from the bottom side, allowing for that Infernal to go over to DAMWON very easily.
If you're wondering about build path from Showmaker, he's actually gone double Doran, so a lot of respect here. And obviously, Lissandro's a range versus melee champion. He's going to have a lot going on. Tiamat will be the eventual first item to give a bit of AoE wave pushback, much like a Pike Top would be established at MSI. And then from there, just the standard items that you're going to build onto the champion, whatever the lane. Trinity Force will come out at some point, as you would expect. So still going to be about burst. So definitely the role in the mid to late game going to be pretty similar between the Lissandra and the Camille. And if you go CS for CS, seems pretty good to me.
Speaking of going CS for CS, that's exactly what's happening here on this top side, and it feels awful. I think we all know the feeling of going against a champion that's picked up that Kleptomancy, because if you're not killing them in lane and fighting them in lane and stopping them from getting CS, then you're just losing. That's just how it's working. And Cuvée, the moment is going even, but you've seen the sacks of gold that Nogari's been picking up. He's able to go home, gets himself the Tiamat. He'll have a lot of shove now against the AoE push potential of the Aatrox. Things are going to get real rough here for Cuvée.
And all matchups deserve discussions. There's actually things going on in every lane. Because we haven't even talked about Sona Tahm Kench, 2 supports in the bot lane.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you about this. What makes it different from the Sona Taric that we've become somewhat used to?
So Sona Taric is a very reliable duo as the game goes on. Because in a team fight, Taric ult means that Sona never has to think about positioning apart from can I flash crescendo. That can always be a frontliner.
Yeah.
Have that 2.5 seconds of invulnerability. Nogari and Cuvée. A couple of love taps between the two. With Tahm Kench, it's very different, right? You don't have that same guarantee. You do have a Devour, but it does affect how things go. Now, your auras do persist while you're in the belly of Tahm Kench, so that can be relevant. The reason why Sona Taric is good is that Sona with gold in the late game is really, really powerful. We're so used to support Sona with the better part of a Redemption, maybe an Ardent Sensor, and not much more. It scales very well with gold because your aura uptime in the late game is insane with the internal CDR you get from leveling the ultimate. But the reliability of where Sona can stand and not die in a team fight, yes, Tahm Kench brings one thing, but it's not Taric. So because there's not quite that same symbiotic relationship, the laning phase is stronger because Devour in lane is way better than missing a Dazzle, which is what happens with a Taric. But the payoff in the late game is more based on can you actually get value out of Sona's auras, and those auto attackers we discussed could do a big job.
I felt like Taric also added to the win condition as well in the late game with the fact that you can keep your frontliners alive for so long and they can build more, I guess, glass cannon on champions like this Camille, like the Fiora, and historically the Hecarims that would be paired with this combo.
And that's a great point, because your divers and also the Sona, who's standing in melee range of the Taric, would get the benefit. Here, it's a single target Devour. It's probably exclusively used onto the Sona, and if it ever goes wrong, you don't have that 2.5 second note button.
However, you do have a note button, and we'll see whether it can be utilized effectively here by DWG Gaming. Beryl was certainly the Tahm Kench guy for this team, so if anyone can make it work, it is going to be this guy.
And remember, it was surprising Sona Taric never happened in Korea, because how do you beat Sona Taric? IG gave you a masterclass. You dive, but you take it down nice and early, and while Tahm Kench is a little bit different, slightly better in lane, it's still something you want to make the melee champion who's got 58 CS accountable, make the Sona who's just looking for poke accountable. Korea's not necessarily known for that reputation historically. The slower, more methodical style is what Korea's about. So
and we're talking about Gen.G here as well. Yeah. I mean, you don't even need to talk about Korea. You can just say this is Gen.G and they play slow.
And it's Nuclear and Barrel just farming it out against Ezreal Braum. So that's actually pretty damn good for Sona and Tomcat.
I feel like it's almost a stylistic decision to go for this draft and not necessarily something that DAMWON would want to do regardless. I feel like this is a quite anti-Gen.G style, but I still want to see how it's actually all going to work together as we move into the mid and late games. Because is this composition as a group of 5 going to win any skirmishes? I'm not entirely sure.
They don't have the Sona Taric, you just win 5v5 spot. That isn't there because it is Sona Tomcat. Yeah. However, they do have a Kleptomancy Fiora free farming, and their 4-1 could still be very powerful. Only Baron buff and the lack of wave clear could really feast on that as the game goes on. So if Gen.G don't get a Baron this game, it's hard to see them winning.
Well, we'll see whether they can get a Baron earlier rather than later as well, because we know that it does feel worse and worse as Sona gets closer and closer to level 16. Having all of those buttons up basically forever is definitely a good thing. No gank to happen here in the mid lane.
Talked about Sejuani Aurelia synergy and the ability to stack up that passive there. Guess what? It's 2 melee champions, so the ability to get that permafrost off when Sejuani shows up is almost instant.
Yeah, and there was actually, I believe it was Doublelift that was talking about it in the LCS. The Sejuani comps that have been cropping up. It's why there's been so many Sejuani bans that we've seen globally. A lot of these teams do like to prioritize the Sejuani a lot.
You don't fight at level 2 anymore. You kill Krogs really fast. Cinderhulk got it buffed patches ago. Yep. There's a lot of reasons to consider some of these teamfight junglers, and that's exactly the camp that Sejuani falls into.
Canyon, see whether he can do his best Tarzan impression, where he can just play Sejuani at any point and make the champion look busted. That was certainly Tarzan towards the Kesper Cup.
Well, we slowed down, Atlas. We had some action in our first series today, but
I was going to say we slowed down from what?
Here's the LCK
the huge
we know and
speed
love.
Of the first 10 minutes of this match, where nothing happened.
But DAMWON's embracing it. It's eventually we win. It's kind of between the Sona Tomcat and the Fiora versus Aatrox, the decision they've come to, and it's kind of onus on Gen.G to see Lissandra showing up in lanes, to dive, to do things. Right now, we're playing with some hearts out there. We're fluttering, Atlas.
We are. Yep. Song of Celerity is going to come out. That's going to mean that Nuclear is going to be absolutely fine. Canyon gets hit by a Q from Peanut, but that is about that. And oh my goodness, a turret plate. It's a thing.
Baby.
A thing happened, Papa Smithy. And it was Fiora winning the Fiora Aatrox matchup, so we have learned still nothing actually this game.
Do you reckon any pros actually use the DJ Sona music
from Cube
during the pro games?
Which one's your favorite? Are you a red DJ Sona song guy? Or?
I actually don't have much of an opinion on that one. I just know that it exists. I just wondered if the mechanic was ever used. I mean, ProView shows us that people do actually talk mess in old chat, so yeah, I'd love to learn, you know, little things like that.
I don't know. I mean, it's all based on which button you decide to press, right? And at the moment, I think Nuclear is doing my favorite, which is like the more like ambient EDM type style, because I prefer not to have frantic music when I'm playing League, you know?
Well, I think the frantic music might help this game.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it would certainly help now. At the moment, we've definitely got Nuclear's soundtrack on. I listen to Gypsy Kings when I play League of Legends.
Really?
Yeah, it helps keep me zen.
There you go.
Showmaker's going to take a fair bit of damage here as Kuzan claws him. But Aftershock's going to find nothing. He's just going to clean up the minion wave. Showmaker gets first rotation over to the second. Infernal Drake here. 800 gold is going to the lead from DWG Gaming, and I actually thought here at about 13.5 minutes that would be higher, given the fact that they have double Kleptomancy. But Kuzan's going to face check, actually moves out of the way. The Hextech sweep.
If you want to be intelligible about how this early game was played, obviously it was pretty much a farm fest. Gen.G should have soloed the Drake sometime 8 minutes earlier than now. Yeah. Because they were against Sona and Tomcat. Now they might actually have to fight for it. Down to about 1,500, but it seems like DWG Gaming don't want it to be.
Yep, they're happy to trade all the turret plates on the top side of the map, and when Fiora is part of your win condition, that is certainly an understandable thing to do. Teleport is going to come in, but the damage may have been done here, as that is a lot of plates over to Noguri just before they fall down.
Nuguri's ready to just solo kill Aatrox soon.
He's ready to solo win the game, I think. It's real scary stuff here. As you can see, he's Absolutely no mundos given whatsoever. Ravenous Hydra is completed, so he's happy to go in for whatever trade he wants.
Noguri is insanely massive already, and that's just from farming. DWG actually chasing off on the bot side as well. Noguri decides he deserves a red buff, and, you know, I wouldn't trifle with the man.
Nope. No, I'm never going to say no to any Fiora in that state in my game ever.
A little stats update here on the bottom left, showing runes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Kenny going to pay a visit here as well, as Peanut also shows up. I believe was in Vision, but he's going to head over to his wolves, is Canyon.
Little stat boops we have in the bottom right. Some extra healing on the side of the Fiora. A lot of shopping trips missed. Like Showmaker must be sitting on a mountain of have Merc treads for a while. All of that is in the pockets of Noguri. 480 gold, left Demancy. He has a casual 1,500 gold.
He does. Meanwhile, I mean, Ruler also has a casual 1,500 gold lead, and nothing has happened on the bottom side of the map.
I mean, you do have to equate it, though, so it's 4,800 altogether against 8,900, so it's about the same. I think it's 8,800 to 8,900 because Tom Ken's just been CSing so hard.
That's true, that's true.
So it's about even bot side. The gold lead in this game is purely from Noguri.
And that's mental, because we haven't even had a first blood yet, and you can see the gold lead is only 1,000 gold. So we're talking about Noguri as being ridiculously far ahead. It's a very different story than the ridiculously far aheads that are maybe happening at 15.5 minutes in your games of League of Legends, everyone at home, as Cube, speaking of which, is going to be having a bit of a rough time. Not going to find too much value with the old riposte, but that's because that doesn't matter.
Let me introduce new Aatrox in lane.
Yeah.
You just kill him.
Well, Kuzan thought that the teleport might help.
No, but the teleport with old Aatrox works perfectly, right? Because Aatrox is kneeling, and then Lissandra catches someone. With new Aatrox, he just dies.
Yep. Well, thankfully, Cube had listened to you, Papa, and he was like, well, I'll help prove your point there, Papa Smithy.
I mean, Noguri would have played this matchup anyway, because, you know, he was loving the skill matchup before. Now you just, now you win harder, which, if Gen.G continue to do nothing elsewhere, they will just lose the game because of Fiora versus Aegis.
Yep. It's been a little bit their problem for quite some time. So we're hoping to see some change, and you can see Kuzan actually made his way up there towards the top side of the map, but if you're going to play someone new in the mid lane, I played with one champion that Fly was able to win on. He actually had an extremely high win rate on the Lissandra for a team that didn't do a lot of winning in spring.
This definitely, with how fast the lock-ins came in and the conspicuous Aatrox availability, is we got him right where we want him. Yeah. Situation right now for DWG. However,
that's a big flash, and they want the Tahm Kench. They are going to be able to get the slowdown, but the cleanse is going to be their Beryl, creating some distance, and Nuclear just keeping him alive for so long. Noguri, he smells blood. Canyon is here as well. Peanut. A good kick is going to come in there as Noguri is slowed down, and the Arctic Assault is not going to land onto life. He is going to be the first one to go down, and DWG have 5 underneath the turret. That is going to be that. Noguri gets out of turret range. They take down another one, and Gen.G are watching everything fall apart.
And you just didn't know how bad it was because the lack of teleport on Cube. He teleported back to top side and not lose the turret, and guess what? They bring the Fiora down bot lane. She's now super fed, and Showmaker says, maybe I'll kill Aatrox this time.
Yeah, it was a really cute knock up there, actually, from Cube as he looks for some more onto Showmaker. He's taking a lot of minion damage, but he's got a Ravenous Hydra as well. They are just staying alive for a real long time in these melee matchups, Papa.
Hail Hydra, says DWG Gaming in this particular one.
Oh, another one. Cube is really winding these knock-ups well.
I like that you said winding, because yanking the chain is a pretty good one with Aatrox as well. So he's got a lot of fun turns of phrase going on.
Oh, especially when he's going to be playing like that as well. Saving him quite effectively. Didn't, of course, underneath the turret earlier on, but see whether Cube can be the man to pull them back in, of course, if Noguri is just nowhere near him. I think is going to be how it's going to have to be played.
If you wonder what Gen.G should have done, I alluded to it before. Around the bot side, it's Sona Tahm Kench with a melee champion CSing, and it was a 5-minute spawn Infernal Drake. Stack some Drakes, amp the pressure, make this game fast. DWG Gaming are doing kind of the next level on the Korean style. They're not playing fast to bring up the overall pace. They're saying, you can't play fast. We're going to take our time in this game.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like the Korean style or something like that. DWG are just playing anti-Gen.G, and it's really beautiful to see. A little bit upsetting that Gen.G haven't changed their playstyle, but it is still very early, ladies and gentlemen. Remember this, that Gen.G still need to acclimatize to so many new additions to this squad. Probably the most changes that have been made for any other squad so far this season was Gen.G from spring to summer.
And they would not have scrimmed against this entire 5-man comp.
Yeah.
To be honest, DWG Gaming didn't need to go all in. At the Camille mid feels like a afterthought in this game. Could have been the coolest thing in the game, but here it's just kind of happening. Cuvee pops the ult as a note button. He's leaving. That's a Sivir ult for him. And, well, the turret goes down, and the rich get richer.
Yep, I don't think Cuvee needed to press both of his oh heck buttons.
That's true.
But he did. And that's when you really think in oh heck. And I can't blame him for that.
But now he doesn't have those for when Fiora walks up to him. That's going to be bad.
Do you know what I'm feeling, Papa Smithy? I'm feeling like this is a in ruler we trust game if you're Gen.G, and I just don't know. I don't know whether I was ready for that to be the Gen.G that we have still here in spring. There needs to be more from this squad, but I mean, he does have his Trinity Force. He does have a lot of farm. It's just it's a tough one.
I mean, you read the items only on the Fiora at 20 minutes, and you're like, oh, crap. You know, this feels like the enemy team got the Smurf in the top lane, and you can try out your best options, and you're going to really have to make it happen quickly, otherwise Fiora is just going to win the game alone.
Yeah. Okay, well, Nogari's now on the bottom side of the map, so Gen.G know where the danger is. Now, as soon as he moves off the map, that's when Gen.G need to be scared, no matter where they are. Peanut going for an interesting second item on his Lee Sin. It's not the Black Cleaver, it's not Guardian Angel. It's a Warden's Mail.
It's a bit of a budget Sejuani Randuin's rush on the Lee Sin. I mean, getting picks is a lovely idea, but it's already hard enough to get a kick onto a Fiora or a Camille. They're going to be the ones splitting. The dream is, I guess, Tahm Kench with Sona in the belly. The Black Cleaver wouldn't have done anything here. The Randuin's feels terrible because no one's building Critical Strike. But he's just trying to play and make as best he can, I guess.
And trying his best to slow down this composition as well, which is why Randuin is going to be the option that active that he's building it for, not for the ability to
like what else
reduce the crit damage.
I guess Dead Man's Plate? You know?
I mean, like, there's something to be said for GA, theoretically, but
then you have a BF sword now and you die instantly.
Yeah. No, it's not good. You're exactly right. Kuzan going to make his way down towards the bottom side, though. Happy to go up against Showmaker. Cuvee not happy to go up against Nogari whatsoever.
No. He can dive him under turret and kill him if he had perfect vision on the enemy.
Yeah. Or if he felt like it. Is, how I'm sort
how
of
much
feeling.
of a health bar lead does Cuvee need to 1v1 the Fiora?
I think if Nogari has over 450 health, he wins every time.
I'm with you, actually. About 450 is the line.
Yeah.
That's
but
a scary
400, Cuvee, you got this, Brent. It's in the bag. It's in the bag.
With Riposte available is what we're
Yes, of course. And Ravenous Hydra, of course, is what we're thinking.
All right, we're sending everyone top.
Is 3 going to be enough? World Ender already popped as Nogari moves, and Cuvee decides he wants to get the heck out of there. Grand Challenge is down, and he flashes after Cuvee. Not going to be able to get too much more. There's the Riposte for the last hit, but he can't get onto the healing, and Peanut's going to kick him even further away. That's the shutdown, and that is worth it. Going 1-for-1, that is worth it when it's Nogari's Fiora.
You're only sure he was going to die when that death confirmation came up. There may have been different ways to 1v3 there. That's how strong the Fiora is. Now, DWG Gaming can't do a lot in the meantime. It's on the top side of the map, so no Baron to turn onto. Trying to siege a bit, and Camille's on the inner turret involved.
Yep, thankfully Ezreal and Braum pretty good at defending a turret, so they are able to do that. And this is what we were saying. I mean, the siege capabilities of Tahm Kench Sejuani's Sona isn't exactly the best, apart from its ability to keep itself alive.
Does Nogari go for a QSS? The answer is no. We see a BF sword towards, you would assume, a Guardian Angel, but it could be a Bloodthirster.
Spirit Surgeon.
Or Spirit Surgeon is the one that I was getting to, and I think that's the one he'll probably go to, because if he had a couple more Riposte, there's going to be a couple more kills.
That just feels like the most Nogari item
Absolutely
possible.
My favorite moment was when Cuvee went in and then instantly turned around and tried to run away because he realized the predicament he was in. Got the first kill here, and if he had got that sustain field earlier with a QSS, I think there were more kills coming in. So nice shutdown. The gold is on to Kuzan. I enemies.
Even if...
Double Magic Pen now, plus the other core items done.
Oh wait, is Noguri going for a Bloodthirster? He's got an extra Vamp Scepter as well. Maybe he's going for the ultimate 1v1 build.
It could be a Bloodthirster.
Yeah.
Bloodthirster's my first thought. Spirit Shoujin's pretty core on Fiora to get a 40% CDR. I feel like he's going to have all of the above eventually.
I think, yeah. I don't think a defensive choice is going to be coming in here as a teleport. Speaking of which, is going to come down from Showmaker. That is going to get 5 members towards the bottom side as Noguri has the grand challenge. Infernal Chains aren't going to work. Redemption is going to be in there as he's going to have to use the riposte relatively soon. Tahm Kench comes down. That's going to defend Noguri, but he's taken so much free damage as DAMWON move back over to this Mountain Drake, and Gen.G have the man advantage as they move on in.
Predictably, Noguri pushing up below. That's the way he plays. They're engaging with 4,
yeah, they're going to dive on forward. The Hextech Ultimatum comes down into the backline, and Ruler is still alive, landing so much damage here. First, it's going to be Showmaker falling. Riposte comes in, but Ruler, he's out of that pit. Peanut as well isn't in there any longer as Kuzan is going to go Golden True Shot Barrage. Lands onto Beryl and Gen.G. Can they actually do it? Cuvee grabs one, is going to get taken down in the end, and now Noguri may have bitten off more than he can chew. He has. It's the Frozen Thralls. They're doing so much damage. And Nuclear, can you get out of the way? I don't think so, as Ruler's just waiting for an arcane shift. He moves pretty fast with that Song of Celerity, but that is Mountain Drake falling for Gen.G, and a possible turnaround.
DWG Gaming don't have all their I's dotted, their T's crossed. They try to take it with the Grand Challenge down and a 4-man hard engage when Fiora wasn't close. This was truly grouped with those auras applying to the Fiora. They would have had this one, but if you watch it, a lot of clumped members, but not a lot of damage. Showmaker is in stasis, Fiora's not there, and Sona was on the outside.
Yep, Nuclear, you can see, doing all of his buttons as often as he possibly can, but it just wasn't quite enough, and I felt like Ruler being able to escape like that and then so effectively make his way back into the fight was very important.
The last Frozen Throw was required, otherwise that could have still been a Fiora turn. A lot of things had to go against DWG Gaming for them to lose out there. They're fighting as 5 when they have a lane that no one can answer in the Fiora, but their execution on the 5v5 also left a lot to be desired.
Well, Blade of the Ruin King is now done for Ruler, and with 3 items, that is real scary. I mean, Noguri's 3 items, yes, I admit, are better. Absolutely. Bloodthirster now done, but Cuve's at least got 2. Death's Dance is now done. And Gen.G are showing that 80 carries are pretty good when it comes to late game team fighting, and if you want to have an 80 carry player, Ruler's a pretty good option as well.
Completely get that theory. My instinct is that if DWG Gaming actually set up correctly, even Ruler and having an 80 carry advantage won't be enough, but I'm ready for the pedal to hit the road. I'm ready to see some actual inroads in 5v5s here, because it's one thing to think, it's another thing to see and appreciate.
Yep. Well, here on the bottom side, I'm always scared that Cuve's just going to die. As Noguri comes down and just lunges at this minion wave to make sure it dies. Beryl and Nuclear are going to be okay. You're just trying to defend against Gen.G, and Gen.G playing very slowly. 3,000 gold though. Not too much of a lead, and Mountain Drake is going to be the next one that's up. One of them already in the hands of Gen.G, even on the Infernal Drake count, which is certainly good news if you're a Gen.G fan.
Death Dance is done. Remember that interacts with the amped healing on the ultimate. So there still is insane teamfight potential from this Aatrox. If he can TP into a fight, this could lead to a base race scenario. Kind of in more futures than not. It does feel like it's very likely to happen with just how much Aatrox doesn't want to be cooped in a 1v1. On true damage on the hit from Noguri, that Death Dance won't interact with.
Executioner's Calling is finally completed here from someone, and Juve needed it a long time ago, just didn't quite have the budget to put that one together.
Does have his passive and now Executioner's Calling, so the on-hit level of healing reduction is now reliable rather than just in shorter bursts, but completely agree. Chances of being dived without it in the 1v1 are 100%, so at least dissuades in some ways. 3,800 gold lead among the top laners, but not every fed Fiora split pushes to the win. Doesn't always happen, Atlas, so they've already made one mistake, DWG Gaming against Gen.G. They make another one, who's to say Gen.G don't pull off an upset victory.
And in this 4v4, away from the Fiora, this is an even game between Gen.G and DAMWON. And speaking of which, Gen.G are feeling confident as they move over towards this Baron Pit. Redemption is going to spot them out as all 5 members are grouped up on both sides. Gen.G going for a bit of a pincer play here, but Canyon's going to avoid all of those skill shots. Griff Scuttler is going to be chased into the open arms of DWG Gaming, and that is going to be an ultimate going wide. True Shot Barrage is going to tag only Canyon, as Nuclear is still threatening with that crescendo. Canyon just waiting for his ways in. There are so many wards. Showmaker going to get the first stun here as life. He's going to get healed up. Kuzan as well diving into this fight. Canyon getting kicked out, but Nogari's at full health. You have to pay attention to that because he's so scary. Great safeguard to get Peanut out of the way, and it is going to be Cuvee, the sacrificial lamb. The fight was looking okay for Gen.G to begin with, but DAMWON are going to assert their dominance in the end.
But it's a deathball comp, not like one we've seen before, Atlas, because no one can walk up and frontline against double true damage melee champions, Camille and Fiora, with double Trinity Force stun. They just burst whoever walks up. And speaking of burst, remember Baron? He's gone.
Yep, absolutely. And Nuclear, he's just happy to wander around the mouth of this pit, making sure that everyone is absolutely okay. The heals for days, and even the extra damage available from the Q.
Lissandra self-ults, everyone else just dies, because it's double Trinity Force champions who do true damage on whoever frontline. Aatrox can't be that frontliner anymore until you get the first kill. The first kill goes the way of DWG. The future ones do as well, and no one can get to Sona. She's just healing and providing auras from the back.
It's actually very close to Cuvee getting himself to relative safety, but like you say, the World Ender, it's just not the same button that it used to be.
But is this the first time ever where true melee carries are the ones who are carrying? This in League of Legends, range has always been a problem. Melee carries have never been the way. It's always been AD carries with a smattering of juggernauts and some melee carries. Melee carries use your dirty word of Master Yi outside of solo queue. Whereas in this case, they've actually put together a comp where the melee carries are very, very relevant.
Yeah. We should bring back the Master Yi funnel comp. Let's go.
MVP got relegated already. That's gone.
And then he moved over to
should make a correction.
Well.
There's still a healing interaction on that Aatrox passive. It's no longer the healing reduction. It's just the healing amplification.
Yes.
Got a bit confused there. So no healing reduction available during the lane. Gives even more explanation on why it was such a free farm lane for Nogari. He hasn't bought that Sphere of Shojin yet, and it's a lot of BF sword items for Nogari.
Oh, you can see Peanut was desperate to try and find that Sonic Wave on the Nuclear, but couldn't actually get it there. Man, I struggle to say his name so much. I don't know why. Is it? I don't think it's my Australian accent, because you have one as well.
Which one?
Nuclear. His name.
That's true. I mean,
I often say nuclear because
that's a very Aussie thing.
I think it might be. I'm just terrible at it. So if it triggers you guys at home, like, I'm really sorry. I'm aware of it as well. I hear it happen and it triggers me. I just can't, for some reason, make my mouth do it for it.
I think it's just one of your parts of your charm, Alice. So.
Just saying stuff wrong.
Yeah.
All right. It's not bad. I am very good at saying stuff. He's going to be in the mid lane, though, at the moment, just keeping everyone alive. And we've got that 1-3-1 that we were talking about earlier on in full effect. 8,000 gold going to the lead here for DWG Gaming.
It's also a double Trinity Force 1-3-1s, where they blow up turrets just as fast as they blow up that first front.
And, like, the middle of the pack as well. I mean, we mentioned the fact that they don't have necessarily the most wave clear, but what they do have is staying power here in this lane.
Now, the 3 isn't strong, like we outlined a couple of times. The Sona Tahm Kench Sejuani doesn't really do much, apart from Lichbane autos onto the turret. There's a lot of wave clear, but we said Gen.G needs to find a Baron. They're dealing with one. To their credit, haven't lost the base yet, but it feels inevitable.
Yep, that's a grand challenge on to Kuzan. He leaves. He says, I don't want this challenge. That is not the challenge that I signed up for, and they break 2 turrets at once. Life. Almost has his life broken as well, as he's going to have to flash to get himself out of the way. It's decent damage from Ruler, but honestly, the damage has been done on DAMWON's side. They break the base all 3 spots. They've also got 2 inhibitors down. 20 seconds on this Baron. If DAMWON can keep pushing here, if they can get any picks. Kuzan diving into the backline. He's the one that's looking to try and get work done. He goes golden. He tries to proto belt out, but he's just dead. DWG playing it slowly but surely, and they grab the Lee Sin like he was an afterthought. It's all too easy. Triple kill so far for Showmaker. Make it a quadra kill. Can he get the Penta Ruler? And a Penta kill in day 1 of LCK Summer. Welcome, DWG Gaming.
Living up to his name, pentakill on the first Camille mid lane. We thought it was just a bit of color on something in the LCK. It's just something that people are playing around with in solo queue. No, they have a strategy around it. The double melee carry comp comes up big.
And look at Showmaker's face here as well. He is absolutely stoked, but more surprised rather than anything else. as I believe this gentleman on the top side of the map was a large proponent as to why DWG looked so comfortable winning that game. It's not often that you see games where the strategy is just better from one of the teams, and this was. They entered a late game where they were both on even footing and felt like Gen.G just didn't have too many options.
But honestly, DWG Gaming knew exactly what they wanted to do, and as far as we can tell, they knew exactly what Gen.G wanted to do. They locked in their picks instantly. They had an answer for the Aatrox that was conspicuously left open. Gen.G thought they won something, but very quickly they had a dud, and the Aatrox was just snowballed on again and again.
Yep, that's exactly right. We knew that it was going to be a decent matchup for the Fiora, but I didn't quite expect it to be that easy for DWG. Just felt like Gen.G played some lanes a bit and then lost. Just wasn't felt like the most Gen.G composition that you could put together minus Tahm Kench. And then they played very slowly, very methodically. There were some moments there where things happened, but it didn't feel like they were trying to get into the driver's seat. They weren't trying to innovate. And DWG, on the other hand, are completely the opposite, innovating with 2 melee carries as well as having this Tahm Kench Sona combination that actually worked relatively well.
Every Gen.G trademark was on display here and used against them. Everything they are was subverted by DWG Games. Amazing prep from DWG. New stuff that works specifically against the opponent's tendencies. Really nice look from them, and we talked about Gen.G as dark horses. DWG finished 4th, but they were well off the pace of Griffin and SKT at the top. What if they develop just as much they did over spring, over the offseason, and are just a contender for LCK Summer 2019?
Well, we know their coaching staff are certainly world-class, so we'll see whether they are going to be able to get everyone together. I know that they were very happy to have the experience of the spring split, and now you can imagine that Summer is all about getting to Worlds and showing exactly what they're capable of. And if it's like this, especially in the draft, as well as the way they executed this game, things are looking good for DWG Gaming, but Gen.G, I'm still feeling like there's a lot of the same issues that we saw earlier on.
And I just need to know, is it panic button? Is it, all right, Fly's in there, we're changing players, Gen.G have a lot of options, panic stations could be in? I'm hoping they stick with what worked, and the reason they picked these 5 was from a large sample size. From the sample size of 1, Gen.G were demolished.
They were, but it is a best of 3. They can come back in game number 2, and we'll see whether they're going to be able to after this very short break. Will we see Rich for the first time? Will Roach head towards the top side of the map? We'll have to wait for a short break before we find out.
More questions than answers, Atlas, but not the longest break before we